All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching another episode of The Closing Chamber with Empire Title. Have a special guest today, Cylas Brooks, joining us today.
Thank you.
A real dear friend of mine, huge supporter of Empire Title since day one.
100%.
And big supporter of everything he does as well. Anything, of course, we can help and support, we're there.
I appreciate it, man.
And so, man, I'm excited to have you on the show today, man.
Yeah.
So, one thing that we were actually just talking about before the podcast here is, you aside from doing real estate, you purchased a business.
Yeah.
Which was, one of the main reasons where I was like, man, I gotta have him on the show, because you hear a lot of our audience, they're in real estate and they're so used to buying houses or buying land or, but buying a business is such a big step.
Yeah, it's huge.
So can you touch a little bit on that? Like, what was that like, buying a business?
Yeah. It was, so kind of what we talked about before. I started off in nursing in the medical field and then moved to real estate. And during that time, it took a lot of just like reading books, watching content, meeting with people that were in real estate. And that's kind of how I went about buying a business. Also, I started watching so much, YouTube videos on it, reading books about it, meeting with other business owners, learning like, what should I look for as I'm buying, getting a lot of people's opinions and stuff like that. So I would say the process was a lot of, while it wasn't a lot of time in general sense, it was, only probably 4 or 5 months of negotiating, buying, finding, but it was hours and hours and hours of kind of like studying that side of things, because I really at that time didn't know anyone that had bought a business before. It hasn't, I think that's just becoming more and more popular. I think we're seeing a lot of businesses that have owners that are kind of on the way out or retiring. So I think it's becoming more popular now. So that process for me was really just doing a lot of due diligence on like, how does this even work? Can I buy it? What kind of loans can I use? It was like, it's so different from real estate. There's different things to, analyze with that. I would say overall the process was not bad. There's a couple factors I think really made it not too difficult for me. Number one, just having like some other assets that the bank could look at to see like, okay, well, we can see that he's obviously a good steward of his money. And then, just other things like, like the background I had of like maybe flipping and value adding, things like that. So I think, pairing some of that stuff together and knowing how loan processes worked, it wasn't too difficult of a process per se. It's one of those things where it's kind of like simple but complex, where it's like, okay, you got to find a business that makes sense. You've got to find a bank that's wants to loan on a business.
Correct.
You have to have your stuff in line. So like that, it's a simple step process, but it's complex within those steps, at the same time.
Yeah,
so.
and like you said, the due diligence. I'm sure you had to get a year of like T12.
Yeah, financials. On that stuff. Yeah,
and to see if it made sense. So ultimately, if we compare it to real estate, right? If you go buy a rental, you want to see what it's done for the last year.
Yeah.
Right. And you want to see that if the price, if it's going to cash flow with the actual price that they're asking for. Yeah. So is it very similar to doing that?
Yeah, I would say it's really similar in that aspect. Kind of following the step of like, finding a deal to do in real estate, seeing if there's a place to add value, which we do in real estate. Finding a price that makes sense, finding someone to lend on it, getting insurance on it. So there's a lot of very similarities. And I always tell people like, a lot of us overall, we're in a game of just value add in general. If we see something like, our brains a lot of times work like we're looking to add value. And so it's a really similar kind of concept in the investment world, whether you're investing in Rolexes, old muscle cars, businesses, real estate. You're looking for an item that has potential to be worth more if you either find the right combination of buyer or add something to it to increase it an exponential amount more, So I think we're all really in that same simple step process of find something, see the value in it, see how it could have more value,
Yeah. So, go ahead and tell our audience what business you bought and what do you do?
Yeah. So I bought Bison Bins, which is a roll-off dumpster company here in the Greater Tulsa area.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's something I've been very, very familiar with for years. I've been flipping houses, started in 2020, so 4-ish years in. And that company, I've knew the previous owner for quite a while. Use their dumpsters on projects, so it's a big, square chunk of metal. We drop it in the driveway, leave it there. You fill it with all your trash. Call us, we come pick it up and take it to the dump. So, it fit all the criteria I was looking for in a business. And so when I kind of talked to this gentleman, the previous owner, and expressed interest in looking for a business, he expressed that he was kind of interested in selling. So that's kind of how it came about. But that's the business I own, is Bison Bins, roll-off dumpsters, and I'm coming up on a year in October. So
nice.
just shy of a year.
You're about to hit the anniversary.
Anniversary, man, and it's been an incredible ride. It's been wild. I've learned a ton.
Yeah.
And I'm excited, what the future looks for.
No, awesome, man. A lot of our viewers, they're flippers.
Yeah.
A lot of our viewers own real estate. Mm-hmm. So if they wanted to contact Bison Bins, how do they do that?
Yeah, there's a couple of really good ways. Just Googling Bison Bins in the Tulsa area would come up. Our SEO is great. We've got lots of great reviews so you can see and know. You can find us at Bison Bins Tulsa on Instagram and Facebook.
Nice.
So just regular spelling of Bison and BINS Bins.
Nice. So if you need Bins, he's the man right here.
Hit us up. We'll get you taken care of really quick.
Support small businesses, man, so they can become that bigger business later on. Another thing I've noticed about you that I really, really like is you love to connect people.
Yeah.
You've invited me to a couple things. I know we've been to some like investor meetups. Yeah. What's the passion behind that? Because I feel like that is where you and I kind of like connect.
Yeah.
Because to me, connecting people is, I think there's no substitute, like really when you feel like one of your friends needs something and you're like, well, I know somebody. Yeah. So tell me what does that look like for you?
It's super interesting. I don't know the deep down root of it. I just love, I think I'm a helper. I think I'm like deep down a helper. And I just think that like the more, you can provide value to other people, like just the world, karma, everything. I think it just helps you in life. And that's it's like, I don't think about it when I'm doing it, but I think over time you're like, there'll be people I've connected and then like maybe 5 years later I've needed something and they're like, oh my gosh, will you help me? Like, let me do that for you here. And you're just like, man, that's crazy. That's crazy that they remember that you've kind of helped them. But yeah, I just love being like a connector of people. And if people have a need, I think at this point, like where we're at in like real estate and just, I mean, we know attorneys, we know, all kinds of people like flippers and people that need flooring and stuff like that. And so I think if I have that contact, I just think it's only right to like, if I see people with needs, like try to get them paired up and make sure. I think it's a deep down root of want to make sure that people get what they need and don't get taken advantage of by people. And I think if I can like, I know so many contacts, like I would hate for them to just use some random person they don't know. If I had a contact that would have taken really good care of them, because and it's not necessarily that I'm like, oh, this person's cheaper. It's just like, you're going to get your value out of this. And like you pay them, they're going to show up, they're going to do a good job. You don't have to worry about them doing this or that. Like, and so I think that really pushes me too, is like, we know a ton of people just from being out and about. And it's like, if I ever see anyone with a need, I just want to make sure I can try to help and because it might help that person's business and your friend get whatever done. And it's just like, it's helping everyone, that whole network, know?
Do you have any like events that are coming up soon? Because I know you like to do that too. We did one not that long ago, right at with Jake.
Yeah, with Jake with Divines Capital. I don't have anything scheduled right now, but I think everyone's kind of getting kids back to school, getting back in that routine, like ending out summer. But sometime this fall, we'll for sure have something going on to connect some people. So I'll keep you posted on that. And
definitely. One idea that I know I've had is we're so used to these real estate meetups, right? What if we had just a business meetup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like sure, I'm sure real estate people are going to be there, but
Right.
people who have bought businesses like you or because I've also
Yeah.
I bought Empire.
Yeah.
So so they can bounce ideas off each other. How do you
Exactly.
market? How do you
Yeah.
go about, finding the right staff? Or
Yeah.
do you use staffing agencies? Do you use your gut? Because a lot of people use their gut. Or, like, I think those ideas are so important, especially for small businesses to grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that's definitely something in the future.
Yeah. I think it's a phenomenal idea, because also what you need, I think, in these industries and in the entrepreneurial world is you need others that know what your life is a little bit alike to bounce ideas off of, and just be like, friendships with them, to be like, oh, like, don't worry, man. Like I've gone through the same exact thing. Like, what you're feeling of this, like maybe you don't know how to grow. Like, look at the 50 people around you. Raise your hand if you felt like you don't know how to grow before, and probably all 50 people raise their hand. And
Exactly.
that feeling of like, oh, okay, like what I'm going through is not because I'm doing something wrong, or not because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is just a legitimate, real growing pain of owning a business, And I was listening to, like, I think it was Alex Hormozy the other day, and he was just talking about like even those people you look up to that have these huge businesses, like they still feel that stress, and they still, like, there's never a point where it doesn't become stressful.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like, you just learn how to weather it. You learn that that's just okay. For 6 months, your stress is up here, and then at 6 months, that's your new baseline. And then so you just don't know that until someone ahead of you tells you, like, oh no, just get used to it. Like, sit back, understand what's going on. Like, that's what it's like, And so I think a business meetup would be a phenomenal thing to, like, connect these local businesses, because Tulsa loves local. We all,
Oh, yeah.
we're a tight knit group
Yeah.
of everything here.
For sure.
If I know someone that has a store that sells that, like, I'm going a mile over to go to that store, because I know this owner, like, I think as people, you like that, and so I think it would be a phenomenal thing to have a meetup like that, especially in a community that's tight like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned a really important, you said something really important, and it was basically, in a business, obviously we all have stress, but I think the stress comes obviously the first couple years. Like, how do I scale? Because when you open the business, you have this in your mind, like, oh, at least for me, for Empire, I was like, if we hit the X amount of files, we're going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then you get there and you hit X amount of files, and you're like, okay, we're okay, but I want to be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so you set that base, and then comes level 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then level 2 brings another level of stress, right? Okay, so to get to level 2, we need to hire X amount of people, and this and that. And so then you get there, and then level 3. And then so I feel like it's just never going to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, even ginormous companies like Amazon and Apple, I mean, they're even looking how to get to the next billion.
Yeah. Yeah. Or acquire another piece inside their company.
Exactly.
Grow that, I think that's so true. And I think, we were talking a little bit about this before, but like each level, like, requires a different version of yourself. And it's like, man, it's just like really hard. Like, you achieve that goal, but none of us, I don't think, start this stuff to be mediocre.
No.
Like, there's a competitive nature, I think, inside of us, and that, like, that is a really driving force. Like, you hit that goal, and everyone's like, "Man, congrats, you're done now, right?" And you're just like,
"No, I just got started.
I was already planning. I'm already planning this next phase." But then there's like a new, like, version of yourself, of like the discipline and the risk tolerance and stuff like that you have to, like, tap into.
Yeah.
And like that's a space that I'm, like, trying to figure out right now. Is like, actually having, like, legitimate overhead every month. Like, before I bought Bison, I didn't have that much, like, overhead, but like now every month I've got like X, thousands and thousands that is a break even, you know? So it's like, then when you say, like, you got to go to the next level, you're like, yeah, I really do. I really need to go to, like, the next version, like, of myself. And this company needs to not only like provide for myself and family, but provide for the employees that I've committed to you know,
And their families.
and their families, and then your clients that know that they can pick up the phone they can text me at 5 a.m. and say I need a dumpster like at 9, and they're gonna get it. And if like you're providing a good service, and like, so if you don't push that next level, and then now like their project is behind because of that, you know, there's so much you can as a business owner like put on yourself to help you like drive to be the best you can be, because you're starting to have people rely on you like truly, you know.
You know, in the beginning of actually at the end of last year, I was always like scared to be on camera.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, before when we were testing out audio, you were like, I don't like the sound of my voice. That's always been me.
Yeah.
But something told me like, hey man, you're going to have to start telling your story. You're going to have to start being more out there. And I didn't know why.
Yeah.
I didn't know why until Empire came about.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is why.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm like, man, I feel like now we've got to push this company and push it in a different way that no other title company has been pushing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know, again, different levels of you. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that level of me was going to be needed for this time.
Yeah, true.
And so, you know, like pushing the bar, doing the things other companies don't do, you know, looking, you know, for other avenues, you know, other marketing strategies, things like that we don't see, you know, from other companies. Yeah. And I think the most important thing is always knowledge and always knowing like, hey, I don't know everything, because truly we don't know everything. Yeah. And so when we have that mindset and we're constantly in a learning phase, I feel we're always going to push our business. Yeah. Yeah. Because a new idea is always going to come up.
Always something new. The other day, we were just talking about like how many jobs are being automated these days. Yep. And someone was like, oh man, someone might automate dump trucks one day. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like I've got to keep evolving, because that like might be. But I want to say like this, like congrats to you on like overcoming that, because I know you're more like a low key kind of guy. Yeah. The first time we actually met, when I asked you like for lunch, I was like, I want to meet you because I know that you do like great stuff, a good amount of real estate. But I know nothing really about you besides like this one picture on like Facebook every now and then. And, like we met and you were just like so low key. And that was like, I think something we talked about. You're like, this is what I want. Like, I want to be like, I don't want to be the face of stuff, but out there. And then like, here you are like doing podcasts. And, like it's a huge amount of growth in that amount of time. And that's like that. So you are truly stepping into like that new level that you need to be for Empire.
Yeah.
You know?
And believe me, it's been uncomfortable. Yeah. But if you're not uncomfortable, then you're not growing.
Yeah. What are you doing? Yeah.
You know? So, but no, man, this is awesome. I'm glad I had you on this and we talked about that a little bit. And I want to touch on something else though. Yeah. I want to know about your first real estate deal. Yeah. Tell me how that came about. Yeah. Tell me, give me some details on that.
So man, like I said, I was a trauma nurse before this, and I just knew I always wanted to do something in real estate. Like it was just from the time I was like little, I just weirdly always wanted rentals. I'm like, I don't care what I'm gonna do, but I want to have a portfolio of rentals like later in life. And everyone's like, no, stocks and 401k, all that stuff. But I just knew I wanted to be in like real estate somehow. Yeah. So listen to Bigger Pockets forever, man. Just like, so I actually got my real estate license just because I didn't know how to buy a house. Like I just didn't know what that process was. Okay. So I got my license just to like learn something in the real estate world, and then messed around with it for a little bit, but then started like finally selling houses, and started listening to Bigger Pockets. I wish I could remember who told me about Bigger Pockets. Like if I could, I would go back and like buy them a steak dinner, because I don't know. I don't remember who told me, but someone put me onto it. Yeah. And I listened to that for like no joke, hours and hours and hours and hours. Like at that time I was a nurse, so I worked 3 nights and I was off 4 days a week. Okay. So cleaning, working out, jogging, sitting on the couch, like I had like Bigger Pockets on nonstop. We drove to Colorado to go snowboarding, and my wife was like, "You've got to turn that off, man." Like we listened to music like 5 hours. Yeah. She's got her own headphones on and stuff, and I'm like, "No." So after all this time, like I start like realizing what the process was going to be, start analyzing deals. At this time, this was probably like, this had to be like 2018 or so.
Okay.
So really good time,
Yeah.
you know, because everyone's like, oh, deals aren't working. I'm penciling deals. I'm like, that kind of worked. And like, that kind of worked. And like, I didn't realize at that time yet that I just happened to be in a market that was more workable than a lot of the stuff I'm listening to
Yeah.
on the podcast. So finally, I'm talking to people, I'm reaching out, and I joined the Tulsa RIA group on Facebook. One day, someone posted up a duplex right there, and that's like what everyone on Bigger Pockets on his podcast. I'm like, start with a duplex. You get 2 doors for one. You
Right.
know, it's less vacancy. Blah blah blah. You can buy it. So I've been working as a realtor and a nurse for like a couple years now, simultaneously, and just paying off debt, stacking as much back as I could. I'm running the numbers. I'm like, we've got the money to do this, but it's like, it's crazy. It's gonna wipe, like, you've worked so hard to pay everything off, and like get this nest egg. And you know, at the time, I think it ended up being like maybe, I thought 22,000, I think, to put down.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, from all my reading and stuff, like, since I already owned a house, my next house was gonna be 20% down. Well, I didn't know anything about hard money or nothing like that back then, so I'm just using straight up like
Cash.
bank financing, you know. So I'm like, okay, it's our second house, it's 20% down, blah blah. Like 2 days before close, they're like, oh, it's a like, I get my settlement statement, and it was 25%. I'm like, no, like, I thought it was 20.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's a duplex, it's a multifamily, so it's 25% on this one. So like,
Wow.
like 2 days before close, like, I had to like throw another like $7K with it, and I was like, oh my gosh, because that was gonna be our remodel money, you know,
Right.
stuff like that. So, you know, that's how the first one went. That's what we found. The first one, just asking around on Facebook, looked at the deal, made sense, had 2 tenants in it already. So I'm just like salivating. I'm like, man, we're already gonna have cash flow day one,
Right.
you know. But I would say it took a while. But what I did is I made a buy box. Like, I made this very specific buy box. Like, I want a single family or a duplex in this area of Tulsa for this price or under, with rents this or that, you know. And so by the time that it came around, I just had to plug it in and like, oh, it's a deal. You know, I didn't have to wonder and think. And like, I told my wife, I'm like, I think it's finally time to like pull the trigger. Like, this hits the stuff that I have in this box right here, you know. So
nice, man. And so you get it under contract, right?
yeah.
And you said they asked you for 5% more down.
Yeah.
And so tell me, you get to closing day, right? So
Yeah.
closing day comes along.
Yeah.
You wake up and you already know, like, man, today I'm closing on my first real estate deal.
Spent a lot of money.
What did you feel the day you woke up?
Nervous, excitement, scared, cool. I felt everything, you know, like everything, the minute to minute, you know.
Right.
You're like, man, I'm spending more money than I've ever spent before. I'm essentially draining most of my reserves, you know. I mean, that was a lot. You know, my wife and I were newly married, we're 26 years old. Finally, you know, saved up, bought our house, and then now we're about to buy like another home, you know, and now managing tenants, and I knew the tenants, like, this is probably a C-class area, you know, so I knew there's possibility of issues with tenants, you know. So it was a lot. I was nervous. I was excited because I finally, like, I did what I've been like watching and thinking about doing for so long, you know. And so I felt like excited, happy, scared, nervous, proud, just everything, you know, or just minute to minute.
And then you finally get to the title company.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you sit down at the closing table.
Yeah.
And so, did your emotions change when you sat at the closing table?
Yeah, you're just kind of like, you're like, man, I'm really getting into something here. Like, this is a long-term commitment, you know, like 30, they break out that mortgage breakdown, and it's like, you know, the amortized schedule is like, what, like 10 pages, and it's like, okay, first month you're paying $22 towards the principal, you know, and you know, $800 towards interest. And the next month, you know, just, you're looking at this massive stack of like, whoa, I'm like, it's gonna be paid off in like, you know, 20, 40 something years old. You're like, oh my gosh, this is a 30-year commitment here,
Right.
you know? So
I'm gonna be
you're
almost
getting
70
nervous.
years old, and
You're just signing. You got to sign everything. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there was so many signatures. I was just like that. It was definitely some nervousness at close.
did anything at that point when you were already at the closing table? Did anything at that point make you feel a little better?
You know, at that, I will say it. My first deal was not with Empire. So if I would have had like in my favorite, you know, closer ever, Shauna, now works with you guys.
She does. She's with us.
And you know, I didn't have a relationship with the title company at that time the
Okay.
way I have with you guys, the way I have with Shauna. So at that time, you just really felt like, I mean, you felt like on your own. It just felt
Yeah.
like almost you go to the doctor's office and you're like
Just waiting.
it's a procedure,
Yeah.
you know. Nothing against them. I just didn't have any like relationship versus like if I compare that to like now I'm like, you know, I talked to Sean the other day. I'm like, hey, I haven't seen you for a while, but I've got some closings coming up. I will see you soon. You know,
Yeah.
and it's just like there's just so much personal touch. It's like a family type
Yeah.
environment, you know. And I think if I can contrast like what it feels like to close now versus like then, it's just night and day difference because it's like now I feel like Empire is a part of my real estate system. Like it's an extension of me. So like I know when people have a good experience and come in here and work with them, like I can tell them like I've bought my houses here. I've sold my houses here. I've done dozens of transactions with
Yeah.
Sean and the Empire team. And I know these people really, really well. Like you are working with like another great group of people, you know, like as a real estate agent, like it's an extension of my business, you know, like
Yeah.
it's a hand of my business. Like, cause if that doesn't go well, there's things within that can kill a deal, you know,
Yep.
and there's people like Shauna, like the Empire team that can raise a deal from the dead. And if they're not good, like investment side, we do hard stuff. Like we bring in like trash bags of a
Creative
deal
deals.
to you guys.
Yeah.
And are like, this person, I don't know who actually owns this, but they say they want to sell it, but their mom might. And like, I bring this trash bag like to you guys and Shauna, and it's like, please, can you help me? And,
Clean
you
it
know,
up and close it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like when you know, Shauna and this like team won me over, was just like, I had a deal that I knew anyone else would have given up on. Like it was just drug out and like, they found some type of lien on it and then had to contact like someone else for it. And then like, it was just like, I had pretty much like just written it off. And like in the background, like Shauna was like still like killing it. Like an Empire was still like killing it, like working on this file. And then like pop up one day, like, okay, you want to close next week? I'm like, oh, what? That's still a deal?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I want to close next week. Like,
Yeah.
let's do it, you know? So I think when you contrast that stuff, that's like the difference of making sure you're working with like a title team that you trust and believe in, because you know, like, because it's livelihood. Like this is legitimately like at times my livelihood is in the hands of like if my title company can push through and dig in, because you know a retail deal pretty easy, I'm
Yep.
sure, for you guys at this point.
Yep.
Investment deals, like you're really doing a service to us, because it's like you could just be like, this is really not like worth my time if
Right.
you guys didn't care, you know,
Right.
because it's going to be probably 4, 5, 10 times harder than your retail deals. And so when you look at that, it's like you've got to have a team like Empire behind you, because it's literally the difference. Like just say you average 25K profit of flip. Well, if a couple of those don't close a year, like that's a lot of income. That's a good salary that you're missing out.
Yeah.
If your title team is not good, you know.
Yeah. And you know, I think one thing that I'm really grateful for is I started off wholesaling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what a lot of people don't know is my wife, Jeanette, the other closer at Empire, she's also an investor, and she owns rental property as well.
Yeah.
So, and she's had some creative deals on her own deals.
Yeah.
And so I think at this point, I mean, there's a lot we've seen.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, it just gets easier and easier as a deal comes by, and hey, it needs a probate. Hey, it needs this, or hey, there was no will, or I mean, we've seen it.
Seen it.
We've
Yeah.
seen it.
Yeah.
And so it just becomes that much easier where we can service a lot of investors.
For sure.
Because like you
And
said,
not be like, what's that?
yeah,
Like the market, the real estate changes all the time. There's always a new strategy coming out. So like with you guys being up to date on how that stuff changes and the new wave of real estate stuff, like
right.
that's so important. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, for a title company to understand that stuff, because there are people, investors make money, but at the end of the day too, like you're doing a service for that person too. I can't tell you how many people like come to investors because they need a way out of that property. Like, and a lot of times investors get a bad rap for it, but it's like that person was going to lose like tons of money if they couldn't figure out something else, to do. And so, and that's the importance of like, a title company like Empire is coming in and helping this investor, yes, but like at the end of the day, like helping, maybe that seller get out of a bad situation that they, couldn't have got out of otherwise. Plus on the front end, helping another like incredible family come in and bring like new life to that neighborhood, and that eyesore that's on the corner of the neighborhood is now gone, and the whole neighborhood feels better, and
Yeah.
values can continue to raise because of that.
Right,
And it
right.
takes a team throughout that whole network of real estate
Yeah.
to make that happen.
Yeah. And and I'll say it here first. I haven't mentioned it. And I don't know if I've told you before, but we're developing something right now. It's in the works before the end of the year, where we're gonna help investors even more.
Okay. That's
So
awesome.
yeah, we're gonna have something on our website. Stay tuned, everybody.
Hey.
And we'll definitely blast it out there when it's done. It's going to be something truly special
Okay.
for
That's
investors,
awesome. Yeah.
where basically it'll be a one-stop shop on our website
Okay.
for you to do anything with investment properties, pretty
Wow.
much.
Wow.
And so we're working on that along with our development team. We hired a web team to help us out do
Okay.
it.
Cool.
So I'm super excited for that.
That's
Now that you
great.
mentioned all that,
Yeah.
we're in the same talk right now about that. So I just want to put that out there in
Yeah, put
everyone's
that
ear.
little bug in everyone's ear.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that's incredible, and that's what it's about. Is like as a business is bringing value to whoever your client
Yeah.
is, and it's like that's the difference in who's going to be here in 20 years and who's not. Is like who's bringing the most value, because now more than ever it's easier to find a competitor.
Mhm.
Like now more than ever, like if someone wants a title company, they can Google that, and however many are on that page. Whoever wants a dumpster company can Google it and find all my competitors right next to me. We all have reviews. So it's going to be like touches like this. It's going to be things like that you're bringing more value to your clients.
Right.
And other ones, that's what brings people and keeps people. And that's what that's why we have a price on anything. It's like we find this much value of our time is worth that item. Like because when we look at money or a price, and I do this all the time. If I see a price of something, at least when I was like a W-2, I was like, how many hours did I have to work to afford that watch or whatever? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's that many hours. You're like, is it worth it? So it's like money is just value of time, really, exchange. And so like if we're saying I'm going to work with Empire, it's like I think that the time I've spent and the hard money I've made is best placed with Empire, with Bison Benz, with whoever.
Right.
And that's what we do. We bring that value, to people.
Yeah. So I want to go back to your first deal real quick.
Yeah.
So tell me what you felt after you walked out that title company. What was going through your head? Like, oh man,
Yeah.
I closed.
Yeah.
Now what?
I was definitely like, I had to make contact with the new tenants. I had to get utilities that were paid by owner, like switched over to my name. I, just, interested, like how's it going to be when I meet this person? Are they going to be super mad? Are they going to be happy? Are they going to not like me automatically? Because I'm going to show up as a seemingly young kid buying a house that they live in. Like, and I don't think people sometimes understand how much work that meant it took. Like I think as you're grinding and trying to make some income as a young person, you kind of get this, like, people either think you're doing something like shady, or they think you got money from your parents.
Yeah.
There's that when you're younger, you get that kind of look. I like having a beard now. I like being a little bit older because people automatically take you a little bit more
The
serious.
beer's a
But,
lifesaver, man.
you know, yeah. But like when I walk in, like, hey, I'm Silas. Like, my wife and I purchased this property. Like, we're the new owners, so you're gonna come to us for anything you need. It was nervous. I was just nervous to see. Like, I wonder how long they're gonna stay. I really don't want them to leave. Maybe I need to raise rents a little bit. So there was so much like leaving that closing table of like, I was kind of relieved that first part of it was done, but now you just start the actual journey,
Right.
from there. So it was,
Right.
I think, probably more nervous after Axiom. Like, this building here is mine, and if anything happens on it, like, they're calling me for it now, and like, yeah.
That's
I was
awesome.
rightfully nervous because I didn't have that much experience, and like
Yeah.
literally like two weeks later or something like that. Like, no, it was like 2 months later, COVID hit.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, that was
When we all thought it was a curse, but it ended up being a blessing
yeah,
at the
yeah.
end.
It was interesting. So like, but I had like a tenant that was like, I'm not paying you, and I don't have to pay you,
Oh, shoot.
and it's like, and it was like, okay, and I, the crazy thing, I was even offered, I lowered rent during that time to my break even. Like,
Oh, wow.
I told them like, hey, I know this is gonna be rough times. I don't know what's going on. You know what's going on. So like, I'm lowering both sides' rent to like what just makes my mortgage payment. And the one side was like, no, like you couldn't evict me right now if you even wanted to,
Yeah, because
So
they weren't doing
they
that at the
weren't doing
time.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I went like months of like just
Forking up cash.
forking up some money, for that. Like,
Yeah.
but that's the journey.
Yeah. And I think you weren't during that time. You're not the only one that it happened. It happened to me.
Oh, for sure.
Happened
For
to a
sure.
ton of our friends
Yeah.
that we all know. And so,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to somebody who's out there right now looking to buy a property or to buy a business?
To buy a property or buy a business, man, like, network,
Mm-hmm.
and learn. I think that's all you need. You have to. You just gotta consume as much information as you can, because like, the more they say, like, confidence comes from competence, and the more you know about that, like, you're not gonna be scared. Like,
Right.
you're gonna do so much learning. You're gonna be like, I'm tired of this. I'm ready to do this. Like, I think because people always ask like, when do you know when to take action? Like, when you've like just pounded yourself with information, and you start like listening to a new book or reading a new book and listening to a new podcast, and you stop hearing new stuff. Like, that's when I was like, okay, like, I've got to do something, because I listened to a 15-minute podcast, and like, that was like literally nothing new. I read this next book, and that's like, it's a combination of the last 5 books I read, so it's
Yeah.
like, I think you just got to educate, like, go after that. Like, your life depends on it. Like, just we have so much access to information now for free. It's nuts. I mean, you can find anything you want to learn on YouTube, Google, whatever, for free. You network with people. People would give you a book. If someone wanted to get into investing right now and they said, hey, like, I don't know where to start. I don't have much cash. Cause like, do you have a book dude, I'll get you a book all day long. And I think most people in those industries, in real estate, in business, are probably just impressed enough that you're even trying to better your life,
Yeah.
that they will give you a hand, like, however they can. Like, not a hand out, but they would give you a hand, like, in a way to help you, because they know what that's like. They know what
Yeah.
that first grind is like. And I found that so often, like, I mean, you can relate to this, but like, we're people of an ethnic culture in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the rest of the world's like, man, you live in an all white place. I bet no one like wants to work with you and do all this stuff. And there's probably a bunch of racist people. And it's like, man, it's really not. I have not experienced that to the level of what people would say.
Yeah.
And I would tell anyone this, like, more often than not, I have no issues going to like a person in real estate or business that's ahead of me or around me. And most of them would give you any information they have for free. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I would say most people, as long as you, not bugging them to death, not asking them, because they're busy, but like, if you're talking to someone and you're networking and things like that, and they see that you're like not just asking those questions that can just be Googled, like, there's some things that you need to take responsibility for, but the majority of people are so welcoming, and I think in the business world, to help others. I would say small business. I don't know about major corporate stuff. That
Right.
could be very different, but
Sure.
small business, real estate investment community, all my experiences have been that people would help you or connect you the best that they can,
Mhm.
and then so educate, network, and I think from there you'll eventually get to yourself to a place of like, okay, I know Silas. He's a nice guy. He's intelligent, but he's not that much different than me. He's not way more intelligent than me. He's not way more kind than me. So
Right.
like if he can do it, like I can do it.
Mhm.
And if I go ask him or shoot him a quick text, like, hey, I'm looking on a resource for that. So have you ever encountered that before? Yeah, man, hit up my guy right here. He's the best at this,
Yeah.
Boom. Get a warm introduction from someone. So I think people that are just getting started, they've got to just learn as much as they can and meet as many people that are in that type of space that they want to be in.
For sure.
You know?
I think you touched on something very important, which was, we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, right?
Mhm.
And so, because I was told the same thing I'm originally from New York, so
Okay,
my
yeah.
friends in New York were like, "Man, you're going to the most racist place. You're going to the
Yeah.
Midwest,
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little scared. I got
Yeah.
here when I was 19,
Yeah.
and actually 2 weeks ago, as of 2 weeks ago, I've been here 16 years.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I always say, a lot of people don't know, but I was born in California.
Okay.
It was on accident, but I
Okay.
was born in California.
Yeah.
But I still claim it.
Yeah.
And then I was raised in New York. So I
Okay.
always say, like, California gave me birth,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
New York raised me,
Yeah.
but Tulsa made me.
Yeah.
And I feel that literally came to the right place
Mhm.
at the right time.
Yeah.
The city was growing.
Yeah.
People from all over the place were moving here, and
Yeah.
it's slowly starting to become this like diverse
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. It really is.
And I've seen the growth and all that. And so, whenever I was getting started in real estate, a lot of people helped me.
Mhm.
A lot of people helped me. And even this guy that I used to go to church with, and he knows who he is. He's gonna watch this. I used to go to church, and he was always kind of serious. Well, now he's a really good friend of mine. He's a mentor, and he gave me my first shot.
Wow.
Cool. And so he, I didn't know that he had 100 rentals.
Yeah.
And he kind of started showing me like, hey man, this is what you do. This is what I look for. You're gonna be different than me though, but I'm just really strict. But
Yeah.
he's like, I can see you're more of a risk taker. So, but he was just always open to
Yeah.
hearing me out. And even to this day, like I bought a house that has a in-law suite in the back.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was the first one I ever bought like that.
Yeah.
Well, he's known to have like 20 or 30 of these.
Okay.
And so I call him
Yeah.
and I'm like, dude, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think I should do?
Yeah.
Should I just leave it as a shop? And he's like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Let's turn that thing into another unit.
Yeah.
And so, shout out Andrew. He knows who he is. And so, I've never encountered that,
Yeah.
and it's really, Tulsa's been an absolute blessing to me and my family.
100%.
And I really don't see myself living anywhere else right now.
Yeah.
That's, even if it does change, Tulsa will always be my home.
Always be home. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, man, dude, I want to thank you once again
Yeah.
for coming onto the show.
Thank you, man. I
and
appreciate
for being so open and letting us in to all your experiences
it. Definitely.
in business and real estate. I have one last question for you
Yeah.
though, man. Who's the title company they told you to go and see?
Oh, Empire, man.
That's right, man.
Empire, title and closing. All day, every day. I wouldn't go anywhere else. It's you can see, I mean, if anyone saw videos or anything of the opening party, you could just see like this place is full of life. Like
Yeah.
it's not that sit down like you're at the doctor's office, wait till your name's called. It's like, hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, you want something? Like it's a group of vibrant people that are pushing Tulsa forward, pushing real estate forward, and Empire Title is the only place you can go, man. Here.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
Thank you for all that.
Thank you guys
that
for
good
everything.
feedback and all the support from day one.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope everybody has a blessed day. Peace.